Louisiana Republican Governor Bobby Jindal wants to wipe out income and corporate taxes in his state and then replace them with a slightly higher sales tax. It's time for Congress to take a cue from the Bayou. Well, Dave Maney certainly thinks so. He'd have a lot of revenue to make up. You think he can do it, Dave?
I think he probably can, Neil. I mean, among other things that I think is not being considered, he's looking at it, and it would be an economic development tool. His idea is not everything static and there's a limited pie. His idea says, I want to make this state more competitive. I want the economy to grow. I want companies to come here. I want people doing more activity. And if you get a bigger pie, it's easier to generate the tax revenue. And that is a concept that seems to be incredibly lost on many of those in Washington, D.C., that it's not all about a fixed and shrinking pie, that you can make the pie bigger and generate more revenue doing it.
You know, I'm thinking about states that do one or the other. Very few. Maybe I could be wrong, with the exception of Alaska. But that, of course, gets a lot of money from oil companies there. Is this a risk for him? I know he was trying to stand out as there will be no one with conservative bona fides like that if you like cutting taxes. But is it a risk that it boomerangs on him?
I don't think it's a risk. I mean, I think what you would see, I mean, imagine the kind of change in investor and business and consumer sentiment you'd see if Congress grabbed the same kind of initiative in the country and said, we're really going to change and simplify this thing. The National Taxpayer Advocate just said it takes 3 million people working full time to do tax just to comply.
Well, it would
with the
be,
tax code
you're
of the
right in
United
this way. It
States.
would change the like Washington thinks upside down, where revenues are the priority and not cutting spending. Here you have a governor who says revenues are the problem. Get rid of that.
Well, he's not saying get rid of it. He says
I understand, but you know what I'm saying? He's turning the argument upside down and putting the onus on the government to be more productive.
And on economic growth instead of economic stasis, right? He says,
and therein, the sales taxes you
be.
get off that growth feed the very government that, let's say, liberals would fear getting hosed.
And more jobs means more income, and more income means more consumer spending and more economic activity, and everybody wins.
Well, we shall see. It is a bold move. We'll see how it pans out.